Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the Mr. Fix-It channel. Working on a Suzuki GS850 again. I got some odds and ends to do, so stay tuned. Let's get into this.
I was sitting out there in the shed one evening, not doing too much of nothing, just kind of staring at the wall.
Alright, so I do have some wiring to finish. I got to hook up the headlight. I need to do the turn signals, the dash lights, brake lights. I did get this tail light. Doesn't actually fit this aftermarket fairing correctly, so I'm gonna have to do some screwing around with this to get this mounted. And plus I don't have this pigtail for that plug, so I'm gonna have to find that. So I'm not gonna be able to put the tail light in and hook it up right at the moment, but I do have the tail light. Now as far as turn signals on the rear, I got these little guys just sitting on the shelf, and I was thinking if I make a little bracket and kind of put those right there, those should be kind of hidden and tucked away and worked fine. They may not be permanent, they may be, I don't know, we'll just see. I don't think it looks too terrible, but I do have these. But more importantly, this rusty old gas tank. This thing is a problem. If you've seen earlier videos of this where I de-rusted the inside of this tank, well, I didn't get it all the way de-rusted. It needs to be completely de-rusted and sealed on the inside. I'm having little pinhole leaks come through. It won't hold no gas, so this thing's a problem. So I want to try to address these issues with this tank. And other than that, I see I need a rear tire, that's obvious. I did get the front tire on here, which is nice. But getting down to body work, I got to make a seat cushion and seat cover, paint, and it's getting closer. So it's getting there. I know it's taking forever, but it's getting there. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get this gas tank off, get the gas drained out of it, get this back into the electrolysis tank, and try to get as much rust out of this thing as possible. Oh my. Huge mess. Overflow. Oh my god. That's awesome. Yeah, gas everywhere. Lovely. Alright, I got that soaking, and while that's doing its thing, this is liable to take a really long time. And I know it's not fully submerged. This is the biggest container I have, so I'll have to flip this and get this bottom section. But while it's doing that, I'm going to take this front fairing off and work on some more of this wiring. Alright, so the turn signals on this bike are painted over, and it does look like they had some heat damage on them. I'm going to try to clean the paint off of these and see if they're usable, as opposed to just buying some new ones or some used ones. So I'm gonna use some acetone first here. Hopefully this doesn't have any adverse effects on that plastic, but I'm just going to try a little spot, see what happens. Okay, yeah, the acetone's taking the paint off. Well, it's trying to anyway. But it's going to dissolve the plastic, so I can't use acetone, so I don't want to do that. Brake fluid, let me try that. So brake fluid will take the paint off, but it may be a really slow process. Let me just see here. And not really. I'd have to let it soak in, I bet, for a while. It's trying to take it off. The paint's not real thick, so and just wipe it down real good with this brake fluid and then let it sit for a few and come back to it. You can see the heat damage there. I may end up replacing these, but if I can get the paint off of them, I may use them for a little while anyway. We'll see. 'Cause I'm not trying to spend a bunch of money on this bike. Not until I know it's going to be a viable bike and the engine's not going to lock up on me in the first couple rides. Because the engine was seized. It did sit outside for 10 years. So it is taking the paint off. Now if this was a good quality paint and it was thicker than this, then the brake fluid would probably not have hardly any effect at all. I'm gonna leave that to sit on there for a little while and I'll come back. Alright, so it's been more than 24 hours, and I don't know if you can see that, but the paint has started to bubble up. So hopefully I can get this off of here now. This brake fluid will take the paint off, but it's a painfully slow process. But I don't know anything else that's going to take this paint off and not damage the lens underneath. Not like it matters because they're melted, but this is a good, test for future if I ever come across this and need to take paint off of one of these without damaging it. So you can see it is working. It's just it's slow for sure. Alright, so that definitely took the paint off. I switched to using this nylon scrubber brush. That seemed to be more effective than the paper towel, although it kind of left, there's like this haze on it. Kind of weird. So I probably just need to buff these a little bit and the shine will come back. So I guess that was a good experiment on taking the paint off of this. It seemed to work well. Using the brake fluid didn't damage the lenses at all. So now I can put these back on the bike. The one for the right side where this mounting tab is broke off on the fairing, so I'll have to make some kind of mounting tab for that. And I need to find another connector like this. So there's all that needs to be done. Alright, so as far as the broken tab is, let me show you what's going on. Alright, so you can see how the fairing has that tab sticking out right there that the turn signal screws into. Well, on the other side that's broke off. So I'm going to take this piece of aluminum, or aluminum, how do you say it? Aluminium? Take this aluminum piece, I'm going to cut off a little tab and drill and tap a hole, and then this will hook onto the fairing and hold the turn signal in place here. So that's what I'm going to do about that. I think that'll work. So I did the electrolysis on this for several hours. I have an acid solution in this tank. Now it's getting late. I'm going to come back tomorrow, but what I'm going to do over the night is I'm going to fill this tank up with this acid solution. But because of the filler neck here, there's going to be a pocket of air at the very top of this tank. So I devised this little tool. It's got a bend in the bottom of it and a little bulb on the end, and I'm sucking out all the air in the top of this, and I'm adding fluid until I get all the air pocket out of that, because I want to get the top of this tank all etched and the rust out of it. So this is what I'm doing. This tank sealer I'm using requires you to get all of the rust out. It comes with acid solution, in the kit to remove the rust. But this tank was so rusted that I want to get it as rust free as I can before I use the product, because I want this tank liner to adhere And the hardest part is getting this air trapped in here out so that the liquid can be all the way up against the top of the tank. You know, you could probably use the gas cap to seal it, but the gas cap is vented, and if the vent doesn't work right, it's just going to leak out of there. I'm just doing whatever I can do, you know, whatever I can do. So I'm just going to do this until I can get as much of that air out of there as I can. Alright, so I've got this thing upside down. I got the gas cap sealed with some rubber. I got the electrolysis going on again in there. There's still rust. I'm trying to get all that out of that I can. That gas tank is really not savable, but I'm going to try to save it. But anyway, leave that for a minute. What I'm working on here is I want to get the turn signals wired up. And the problem I'm having is this Suzuki had self-canceling turn signal unit in it, and there's all kinds of extra wiring to make that system work. And the problem is there is a sensor that goes in the original speedometer that tells it when to shut off, and I don't have the original speedometer. So what I'm trying to do is figure out how to make the turn signals work without that, and then I want to exclude all that wiring and that whole circuit for the self-canceling turn signal unit. So I need to figure out what I need to make the turn signals blink left and right, and what wires I don't need, and I'm going to have to strip this harness down and get all that out of there. So that's what I'm working on here. Yay. Alright, so I took apart the flasher relay off the Suzuki, and yeah, I don't think this is going to really work. Even if it did work, this needs the self-canceling turn signal unit to actually make it work, as far as I can tell, because I wired it up and it just buzzes. So I don't think that's going to work. This is the one off of the Ninja, and this has been out in the weather for a long time. I can't get that one to work. So I went up to the parts store and I got this unit. It's electronic flasher relay. This is it here. And the only thing I noticed about this is the polarity is backwards compared to this is the connector off the Ninja. This is the flasher off the Ninja. And this flasher that I got, the polarity is backwards, so I had to swap positive and negative. But I'll plug this thing in. See, we got flasher relay. So I'm just going to exclude all the wiring that has to do with the self-canceling turn signal unit, wire this flasher in, and this will get me my turn signals. And what I'll do, just to keep myself from getting confused, is I'll just swap these two pins for each other so the colors are still the same. And let's get this thing wired in. Maybe I'll have turn signals. That'd be cool. Alright, so this box here is the self-canceling unit. It has a connector right here, so I'm going to go ahead and unplug this. So don't need that anymore. Set that to the side. Now I'm going to split all the tape back on this and try to get these wires out of here, because I don't need any of this anymore. And might as well just, you know, clean it up and make it less confusing. So they come all the way up to the front. Let's see, let me unplug the coils. So yeah, let me just start peeling all this back and I'll get all that wiring out of here. Yeah, let's graft a Kawasaki onto a Suzuki. It'll be fun, I said. Okay, this is going to take forever, so I'll come back when I get all this stripped out. Alright, so I just pulled all this out to where I could get to it. I don't know why I do this to myself. Which one I'm going for? This, is it this blue? So I've already got a couple wires spliced there. This connector goes here. Put that back in. Then we got this yellow one. And that one goes to there. So what do I got connected down here? Got the yellow with white and the solid yellow one. So that's yellow with white. There's a solid yellow one. I'll need to keep those. So it looks like I can just, wow, yeah, okay. I don't know what other wires I'm going to need yet. Alright, so the turn, all I got left to wire up are the turn signals and the brake light. So most of this wiring is already figured out. So I'm just going to cut this loom open. I'm going to lay it back in the frame. I'm going to get the turn signals and the brake lights working, and then I can just take out what wires I'm not using. So I think that's my plan. So I'm going to cut this guy open. I'm only doing this because this wiring is already confusing enough because there's two different bikes being grafted together. And later on, if I have a problem with the wiring, I want it to be as simple as I can get it. That way I'm not spending hours trying to troubleshoot something, because I'm already going to have two different wiring diagrams to even work on this bike. This is the wire to my tachometer, so I'll be able to integrate this into the harness once I get this tore apart and I'll put back together. What a mess, right? Alright, I can start plugging this stuff back in if I can figure out where it goes. Okay, it looks like everything's plugged in. Alright, so the batteries ran down for me, you know, working on wiring stuff. So I'm going to let this battery charge for a minute. I'm going to work on this gas tank. Now you'll just have to excuse my bench. It is an absolute wreck. That's just par for the course. This is the product I'm using. It's cream tank liner. It's got 3 steps here. This is the acid wash. So I got to pour this in the tank and add water to it. I got to let that soak in there. I got as much of the rust out of the tank as I can get using the electrolysis process. So hopefully this will get the last remaining rust out of there. So I just got to put that in there and I got to let that soak for several hours. So I just want to go ahead and get this started. I got the gas tank sealed up on the bottom. Just going to pour it in the top. Now this is not going to be enough liquid to completely fill this 5-gallon tank. So I'm going to have to, I've already got a thing to seal the top, so I got to put this in here and let it soak on the bottom, and then I got to roll it, and yeah, yada yada. I've never used this product before. This is not sponsored. I'm not sponsored by anybody. This is all out of my pocket. So hopefully this does the thing. And you can see how much more rust I got out of this tank. It was very bad. If you've seen the episode, the very first episode of this, where I pulled the tank off and it had like 2.5 gallons of mud water in it. And that's, hear that? There's 3 gallons of water in this tank. Are you ready? Wait for it. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, this thing's bad. Alright, don't mind that battery charger running. Got the turn signals figured out. So I got a couple of them just temporarily wired up there. And key on, hit the switch. There's right, there's left. And then there's the hazard. Okay, I'll tell you what I know. So I cut out the self-canceling, the wires that plugged into it, the ones that you need to be concerned about. Okay, say if you're going to want to just delete that self-canceling thing and you want to just run a regular flasher solenoid. Okay, what I did is the black wire with the blue stripe coming out of that self-canceling unit, I spliced it to the black white. The black white in this bike is ground. So I spliced the black wire with the blue stripe to the black wire with the white stripe. Doesn't matter which black wire or the white stripe, just take the black blue to the black white. Now if you use this specific turn signal flasher, you have to swap these 2 pins. So take this orange one and put it over here with this black blue one, and the black blue one where this orange one is. So this is how it needs to be wired up. So you got that gray one there. And it just hooked right onto the thing. So no big deal there. Okay. So your turn signal wiring, the black wires, and the light green wires, there's 2 of them. Okay. That's your left and right turn signal. The light blue wire, this wire here, is the power feed into the turn signal switch. Okay, and then out of the turn signal switch, you want to hook your black and blue, one of your black and blue wires, one of your black and light green wires up. The other black and light green wire go to your turn signal bulbs. All of the orange wires with a green stripe, these wires here, this is the lighting circuit. This is what comes out of the fuse box for the lighting fuses. So just to recap, all the black white wires is ground. All the orange wires with a green stripe is your lighting circuit. The light green wires is, the light green wire is your right turn. The black wire is your left turn. The light blue wire is the power feed to both turn signals. So this will go into your switch, and the black and light green wires come out of the switch. That's pretty much it. Now I got turn signals. And hazards. Alright, good to go. Now I can get rid of all the other wires that go to that self-canceling signal, and then that'll free up a bunch of space here. So I'm going to go ahead and get all that tore out of the wiring harness, and then splice anything that needs to be spliced. I'm going to get the solder out and the heat shrink and blah blah blah, get all this spliced together. And then I need to mount the two LED turn signals I have on the rear, and then I should have turn signals front and back. So in the next video on this, I'll get that gas tank sealed. We need to do some work on the tail lights and do some more wiring. And that's pretty much it, I think. I think that's pretty much it as far as the wiring and everything, and all the mechanicals seem to be good to go. So we're getting real close to nothing but paint and body work. If you guys like this video, please give me a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and don't be afraid to fix it. Thanks for watching.